All right, what's going on, man? Welcome back. We're here, episode 6, just talking ball. We're rolling, man. We hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I know I just finished eating some sweet potato pie, but I'm through with the real, the sides and all that stuff gone. That's the rule. I mean, that's not bad. A week of leftovers. I'm okay with that. What about you, E?
Oh man, I'm tired. If I never cook again, it'll be too soon. Now my allergies have jumped on my back. So if you see me blowing my nose, it's just that time.
Yeah, I tell you what, I thought about you when we talked, and you kind of disappeared. You're like, dude, this is like the hardest thing hosted Thanksgiving. I thought about National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. Like you should have videotaped the you putting everything together and everything. I would have had a ball watching it. But I mean, I know, man. When you talk about things like that, hosting, it sounds fun, it sounds good. But then when it
Yeah,
comes down to it, everything
right.
just I don't want the world to really know how OCD I could be about my own place, but I'm gonna let that I'm gonna let that go. But all right, so this week, a lot of stuff going on, man. The regular season concluded. Rankings came out. There's so many things to talk about, man, and there's some unhappy customers out there. But we're gonna, just preview what we're gonna talk about today. The college football playoff, obviously, coaching moves. And that's normal in the world of all of football, not just college, but high school and pro as well. Coaching movement and staff changes and personnel changes, things like that. We're gonna recap Kansas Cincinnati game, the Texas Tech game. We're gonna go around the 12. We got another chalk talk. We're gonna talk about some plays and we get into our predictions and talk about this championship weekend coming up, man. So first of all, before we first get started, Eric, we got something new we threw in here, and I want to know, what are you mad about right now, Eric? So I'm gonna let you start off first. What are you mad about?
Oh man, this one kind of caught me off guard, but I literally just it came across the screen as I'm watching this Texas A&M and Virginia basketball game in the background, and it really just kind of pissed me off. I'm big on old school coaching days, hanging around sports, hanging around
Hmm.
coaches.
Yeah.
I love to win. I make no
Hmm.
secret about that. I make no apologies for that. I love to win. So I am not above, looking the other way or ignoring a thing or two. But I don't pretend, right? I don't pretend to be something that I'm not. I don't pretend to be this very stiff disciplinarian with things that don't matter. So I really get annoyed when coaches pretend to put their foot down or discipline. I see what's going on with the LSU women's basketball program, and Angel Reese suspended for locker room activities, but now the suspension is up the day before they play a top 10 opponent, right? And I'm like, who are you kidding? Who do you think you're fooling? You're not fooling us. And I know dang well you are not fooling those kids in the locker room either. So why? Just why? That's what I'm mad about at this moment. And we'll talk about the college football playoff rankings here in a second,
Yeah.
which I've
I,
been which I've been mad about.
yeah, you tease me often, and you call me outdated, old school, and I am. What I'm mad about is all this transfer portal movement. I mean, it's like damn wild west out here. People are tearing ACLs, jumping off teams like here, and it's like it's not even like a situation where okay, maybe a kid had a run-in with a coach or a kid just didn't play. These are starters. These are kids that's been all conference at places, and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go somewhere else. We talked about it when we went to the Texas Rice game this year. JT Daniels, I don't know, that was like his fourth school he had
Yep.
been to. Georgia, USC, Rice, and I can't even think of the fourth one, but I know it's been four that he went to. You can look it
West
up for
Virginia.
yourself. West Virginia, very good. West Virginia. So it's like there are circumstances that I'm gonna end it right here. There are circumstances that this portal will help kids, and I'm all about helping kids. But golly, when you start just out here just jumping just because you want to, or you're going here, the K-State quarterback is leaving. He's putting himself out there. The quarterback from or I don't know, LSU or A&M, whichever one you want to claim, Max Johnson. He's just committed to North Carolina. I mean, there's just so much movement, and these are kids that are you afraid of competition? And that's and let me rewind and say that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a stance of loyalty, competition, earning your way. Back in the olden days, as you would say about me, there was penalties for transferring. And you know, there was reasons why, there are extenuating circumstances, and I totally get that. But you know, I never want to use the word abuse, but it's like, it's just, it's got to get under control. But that's what I'm mad about. I'm not gonna go into that. We're gonna go.
I'll give a quick counterpoint as a fan of a school that benefits heavily from the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I think one, it gives um, schools that are an attractive place to play another way to compete. Two, it's given kids, as I've learned of kids that are transferring, in particularly to Texas, kids that have sick family members, kids that have kids that they want to be
Yeah.
close to.
Yeah.
So you see that.
Yes, different extenuating circumstances. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm talking about. I don't even want to even get into the whole NIL reason for it. I
But
know.
there used to be loyalty all the
Yeah.
way around, right?
Yeah.
Coaches weren't up and leaving and chasing a bag
Yeah.
and on
Yeah.
their third and fourth schools
Yeah.
either. So I
Yeah.
think once you started to destabilize one side, you
Mm.
kind of have to make it fair. And ultimately, this is just the NCAA kind of kicking the can down the road, because
And
eventually
that's the center point of everything.
players will become employees, and
Yes. What
it's going to happen. They're just
and
fighting it off as long as they
and
can.
that's part of it. Just being young, still enjoying that college experience, that college, playing college ball, still being a kid. Kids, these players can put this front on. I'm a man. This and that. Yeah, you're becoming a man, but there's still things in life you haven't experienced. There's still certain responsibilities and accountability that you don't know or haven't been exposed to yet. And I think sometimes the NIL and this stuff kind of speeds it up, and it puts these kids kind of in situations that they're not prepared for. But like you say, that's at the central point of it, the NCAA, obviously, because we're talking about college. But like you said, coaches chasing the bag, but also the timeline for coaches to turn things around have become so much shorter
Oh
now,
yeah.
and it's so
Oh yeah.
cutthroat. And I was talking to someone yesterday about this, and I think what's getting lost in this whole thing is relationships. You said these kids are becoming employees, but they're still human beings. They still need these mentors. They still need these examples. It's about relationships. And I know sometimes that keeps kids there in the outside world, like, man, you dumb for not going there. They would have gave you this and that, but there's more to it than that, man. I mean, when the lights turn off and the camera turns off, and you got to live your everyday life of, like you say, a player may have a child, sick relative, trying to navigate through academics, trying to find a way, finding themselves. So it's bigger than that. But yeah, we're getting
Or
off.
you just last thing I'll talk about,
Yeah.
because I think one thing you touched on was, are you afraid of competition?
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily always the case either. I'll use the Texas quarterback room as an example. The second time, for the second cycle in a row now, you've had quarterbacks, Casey Thompson, year before last, Malik Murphy, Hudson Card.
Yeah.
You had kids that did compete and did give their all to this university. And I want those kids to play. I want those kids to go somewhere and find success, because you did try to compete. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
but
did try, and you got beat out, but you're good enough to play somewhere else.
but you also made a commitment to that team and that coaching staff too. I mean, you got from a coach's
Did you
perspective.
honor it?
But from a
Did you
coach,
honor it? Because
no,
I stayed 3
because you
years and I
left.
competed and I won some games for you.
I don't know. Now that will differ.
I think it's a
from
two-way street. I
Yeah,
think
but
I've
I
won
think it will
some
differ
games for
from
you.
person
You've
to
developed
person.
me.
Yeah, I think it differs from person to person, because there are some coaches out there that may pick on a kid or had a bad run-in and it's bad blood, and it's probably no coming back from that, and this kid feel like he's not going to have an opportunity. So like I say, it's there's some different situations, but it's just so rampant, and like I say, why would a kid, okay, let's just use the K-State quarterback for an example. Why would he think he's going to go somewhere and have, if not just as much or more success somewhere else?
I don't, did he play all, I guess he didn't play all 4 years,
I know he's a
right?
grad
At
transfer,
K-State.
but I mean, what are you gonna?
Because that's a way to get another year, right? Another year. Because I don't know if can he play? Could he have played if he stayed at K-State? I don't think he could have played, right?
Yeah.
So,
No,
okay.
no. Well, I think he would have, because you could be a graduate. Because why would you be eligible somewhere else and not at your home school or
That's
your
true.
original school?
That's true.
But
That's true.
yeah, it's just I just you see kids that's just I don't know, man. There's something in me that says part of it is competition, because a lot of kids don't want to face that, or like with social media being the way it is, you may take all these recruiting pictures, you're doing this, and then you go to the school and you're on the bench and you
And you're
can't
late.
handle you can't handle it. They can't handle it. And so now it's like, nah, coach tripping. I'm gonna go ahead and go somewhere else. Or if you get coached differently or coached hard, or
Yeah.
you're rubbed the wrong way and your feelings are hurt, or you're embarrassed. I agree. I agree. It is about the kids, and I wouldn't want a kid to be stuck somewhere because whatever, like
Well,
the
because
coach doesn't like them up.
in the world of quarterbacks and skill players, right? You have kids, using Texas again as an example,
Yeah,
where the kid could have legitimate next level talent, right? And could have something to offer to the NFL or to the next level, but he's just not better than the guy in front of him at Texas, because that kid also has
yeah,
elite level talent. He's just a little bit better. So do I give up
and
on my next level dream because I want to be loyal? Because now we're talking about a money decision, and that just
yeah,
now it starts not to make sense, because it's like
and
I'm loyal to Texas all the live long day, but if it's costing me millions of dollars to continue to be loyal, I think it
and
stops being loyal and
that's a
starts
small,
being
yeah, and
foolish. Right.
that's a small sample size too, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree
True.
that
True.
there's pros and cons to it, but I just think, when something just becomes so blatant, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and this is
Yeah.
another thing. When I was at McNeese, like, what people don't know and what people don't see and what is not reported is how many kids are left in that damn portal,
Yeah.
because they're
Oh
not
yeah.
picked up. They're not, so now they don't have a home anywhere. So now it's like, oh, I'm pulling out. And depending on how that coach is or that staff and that relationship, now it's up to them to take you back or say, nah, we filled your spot with somebody else. You've got to, wish you best of luck in the portal. So, I'm not just saying we need to get rid of the portal, but it's got to be regulated a little more, because it's just like it, you know,
It's getting
who's
better. I think it's different for everybody, because you
it
have
is.
more and
Every
more you
situation is
have more
different.
and
Yeah,
more coaches adapting to the portal, because
yeah,
I think last year the percentage of portal players that went on to be, or the percentage of the roster that was made up of portal players was like 6.9% last
yeah,
season. This
yeah,
year's 20.3%. So there was this huge jump of the makeup of a particular roster. And I think it'll only change year over year after it becomes the new norm. Looking
yeah,
at Colorado, looking at Nebraska, looking at these places, that I expect yet again, USC on the defensive side of the ball, that I expect yet
yeah,
again to kind of turn the team over
yeah.
and have a new set of portal kids.
It's just it's crazy because, like, like I say, I think it needs to be a little more regulation, a little more like some penalty after the second or third, fourth school you've gone to, or because
Four
what
schools is a lot. You're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
I'm with you
and
there. Four schools
and
is a lot.
and what's hurting, who's getting hurt is a lot of it's the high school
The
kids,
high school
because
kids. Yeah.
because now they're all second tier recruits, in the sense of, okay, they've got a coach that's just assigned to watching the portal daily. There's a whole website of the portal, and what coaches are sitting in their office and they're recruiting out of this portal, trying to get these kids. Then we're gonna go to what, the 5-star and the 4-star kids, and then the rest of the high school kids. So and that's we could do a whole portal special on that. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Okay, so rankings came out yesterday. The new rankings came out yesterday for the college football playoff. Tell me what you think about them,
You just
Eric.
want to you just want to keep me fired up. I see. Um, I don't like. I love clarity. I love clarity in my professional life. I love clarity in my professional or in my personal life. And that's what the college football playoff committee is not giving us. They are not giving us clarity, because now if Oregon to you is a better team than Texas, the Ohio State makes sense. They're there, just they lost a game, but
And it
that
was
they'll
late in
get
the
leap.
year. And it was
But
late in
you
the
and
year.
it was
Yeah.
late in the year, but
Yeah.
they'll get leapfrogged.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a dead choice there. But if the committee is telling me that Oregon is better because, and I quote, they've been dominant against a bad schedule,
Mm-hmm.
They beat a decent Oregon State team that the committee respects. And because of Bo Nixon's completion percentage, give me a break. Right. And this is a family show. So I'm going to leave it at give me a break. But
Yeah.
that was among one of the more ridiculous answers
Mm-hmm.
I think I've ever heard. And that's why you've now seen the conversation start to change over the last couple of days with, I think we are onto something with having a human element to the committee. Now the question is becoming, do we have the right humans in the room?
Mm-hmm.
Because are these people evaluating talent? Because the committee, just to take everybody back 10 years ago, the committee was created because the computers didn't have a human element, right?
Yeah.
Think of 2008 Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear Texas was one of the two best teams in the country, lost on a miracle Michael Crabtree play, and the BCS left them out, right? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
happened a couple of other
Yeah.
times to a couple of other
Mm-hmm.
teams over the years. So there does need to be that human element, but that doesn't mean you throw all the analytics out of the door when you've
Exactly.
got a Texas team that's 60 plus points higher in strength of schedule than
Yes.
Oregon,
Then, or yep.
have a better strength of record. For those uninitiated, strength of record means the people that you beat, who do they then go on to beat,
Mm-hmm.
right? So their opponents that they've played have better records. They played, I believe, 8 of their 12 regular season opponents are bowl eligible. They have more ranked wins than Oregon. If you look at this purely from the numbers, there is no reason that Oregon is higher than Texas.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that if Texas played Texas Tech 12 times and beat them by 50 12 times, we would also be saying they're dominant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that game, like, it just defies logic that, okay, yeah, teams are different from year to year or from week to week. But when you have an Oregon team that barely beat Texas Tech on the road at night, I'll give
Mm-hmm.
them that.
Yeah.
Lubbock is not an easy place to play
Mm-hmm.
at night. So you barely beat a Texas Tech team on the road at night by 8 points, and it was only by 8 because it was a really bad pick six at the end of that, in the last 30 seconds of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now you have Texas that plays them at the end of the season and literally beats them by 50 points.
Literally. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So you can't tell me that doesn't matter, because hell, common opponents is the next best thing you have to a head-to-head. It can't be the end-all be-all because matchups and all these other things are different. I get that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not a thing. But to tell me that it doesn't matter at all, and that's basically what the committee has told us, that it doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you what the byproduct of this could be and end up hurting the sport of college football for fans. Because if you're Texas and you play a really tough schedule this year, you went on the road to Tuscaloosa,
Mm-hmm.
you had this all these tough conference games,
Mm-hmm.
and now the committee is basically telling me it doesn't matter because we value Oregon beating Chattanooga more than we value Texas beating Alabama on the road.
And that's what I was gonna say. Texas has a better big win resume
Correct.
than Oregon. So are they saying that the loss to Washington on Oregon's side is not as
They're basically telling
detrimental
us
to the OU loss that y'all had, in what, late September, early
yeah,
October?
they're telling us that they value losses more than they value wins.
Yeah.
So they're saying Oregon gets credit because they barely lost to Washington. Texas gets penalized because they lost to a slightly above average Oklahoma team. But
I mean,
back to the point,
who is still in the
in the top 15,
yeah,
by the
exactly,
way, right?
exactly.
So and Washington hasn't played a crazy tough schedule either, right? This was like my whole thing that we did with the Pac-12 this year that we done previously with the SEC, is there's kind of this bias where if they don't play anybody out of conference,
Mm-hmm.
you just assume Tennessee is good. You assume Georgia's good. You assume Alabama's good. So they only play each other. And they're like, oh, well, they only lost to Georgia, so they must be good. And then you find out in bowl season, Georgia was never any damn good to begin with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I was going to say, finish the point from earlier. I think you send a bad signal and you damage the brand of college football, because if you're telling me it doesn't matter, and I'm Chris Del Conte and I'm the athletic director of the University of Texas, selection Sunday, if Oregon is in over Texas and Texas is not in, if Texas gets in, you forget all this conversation ever happened. But if they're not in, the very next thing I'm doing is calling lawyers and asking them, how can I get out of going to Ann Arbor next year?
Yeah. Yes.
How can I get out of going to Columbus the year after that?
Now,
Right.
okay. So what's the scenario have to be on Selection Sunday? Like wins, losses, wins. Like, what are you saying?
So
Like,
you only need for in order for
what I'm saying is,
Texas,
for that to happen, let's say Texas wins and Oregon wins. So is that what you're saying? And Oregon gets picked over Texas. Is that what you're saying? Then that's when you're gonna say, as an AD, I'm making calls.
then you're telling me these big
Yes.
non-conference games
Yeah.
do not matter.
Gotcha. I just want to know what the situation.
So why,
under that.
why play them?
Yeah.
Why go to Ann Arbor? Why
Yeah.
go to Columbus? Because now you made all those games before you joined the SEC.
Yeah.
I don't need Georgia to come to, or I don't need Michigan to come to Austin to give me a marquee home game now that I'm in the SEC, because I got Georgia coming. I got Alabama coming the next year. I got Tennessee coming the year after that. So I already have that. So what's the benefit now if it's going to hurt me or not, at bare minimum, not be a neutral thing?
Yeah.
Get out of the game, pay the $1 million, whatever it costs to get out of that game, schedule UTSA, beat the hell out of them, and look dominant.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the message is that's all that really matters.
That's the message. That is the message that you're sending, that those marquee games do not matter. So you just have to ask yourself, why play them? And I think that's a bad question to have to ask for fans of college football, because that doesn't just apply to Texas.
Yeah.
That applies to every other SEC school. That applies to every now Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Why are we playing tough out of conference games where we could lose and we're not rewarded for it?
Yeah, and so now the week 1, week 2 rankings, the initial rankings mean so much more, because now if I can just maintain at 2 or 3 playing whatever type of schedule, I'm not going to get bumped down, then I'm good. But these teams that are coming out of nowhere that weren't ranked or was at the bottom, but they're making, like, say, taking these big risks and winning these big games, and they're moving up. So now, like I said, now they're saying that doesn't matter as much, or it's because a team didn't have the expectation. Now you're rewarding them, and like you're being punished for being a good team already.
Correct.
Because so it's so many different things. And I know we live in a world where you're not going to please everybody, but some things are blatant, some things are obvious. But my whole thing is, it's tough. I always use the term critics without credentials, and how do you govern that? Whoever the committee is made up of, whatever the background is, then if you bring coaches in, then you're worried about bias, you worry about buddies, they're in the coaching world, and it's so many things. So now, like you said, Joe Klatt said, now you jump back to, oh man, the BCS was was a numbers thing, analytics, but like say now you need a human element in it, and I don't know if I heard a contradictory statement. I was watching ESPN, and they were saying how they put Florida State out last week because of the Jordan Travis injury, and now they're saying, well, they're a different team without Jordan Travis, obviously, but they're back in the 4th spot, which I understand is because Ohio State lost. They were holding on those spots. But do you overlook a Texas or Oregon?
They are praying, what they are praying for is that it sorts itself out on the field,
which
that
that's why I like it.
wins, or that these teams lose. But basically, that's a cop out, because you're basically saying,
you're letting them do the job.
I know Florida State is not one of the top 4 teams in college football today. I know that.
Yeah.
But if they just so happen to manage to win, they could knock Louisville's quarterback out of the game. Louisville's also playing with the backup. A wild fumble. Louisville wins by, or Florida State wins by 3. Now they're still undefeated, and you've got to put them in. So but to your point, and I think what I think a fix is, and I think a fix is necessary because not only do you not promote, these big games out of conference, but you're also endangering player safety. You're also promoting bad sportsmanship because guess what? Now you've told Texas, I need you to look dominant. What is that? Or
Necessary.
Oregon, I need you to look dominant. So what does that mean? That means playing your starters well beyond the game being out of hand. That means going for it on 4th down. That means still throwing the ball when you're up 40.
Yeah.
With 7 minutes left to go in the game.
Yeah.
So you're promoting all of these bad things accidentally, right? It's a byproduct of it, but you're still promoting all these things. And I think it's just bad for the game. But what I think the fix is I think you have plenty of people who have the credentials because they played the game and now they cover the game.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're far enough removed where there should be no biases.
Yeah.
I have no problem if you tell me I'm going to put Emmanuel Acho, Joel Klatt, Josh Pate, Kirk Herbstreit in a room, and they're going to give me a top 4.
Because they've proven already over time, just picking on game day and just
it's
different
twofold because I don't think one or the other. I don't think one or the other qualifies you. I think it's the combination of both.
Yeah.
That one you played because just playing is not good enough.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Or just because you covered the sport, skip there for a really long time, right? Doesn't mean that you're qualified either.
Yeah.
But I do think the combination of the two,
I agree.
absolutely makes you qualified to tell us what we all agree. And they have their finger on the pulse of the country much better than the athletic director of NC State, because what you got to think about these people's lives and what they're exposed to outside of the committee meetings. They go in and they meet and they talk about, oh, I watch these games, but what else am I doing? I'm working at my school, or I'm hanging around other old white guys golfing. I don't know what the country feels about Washington. I don't know what the country feels about Alabama outside of my bubble. But if it's my job to cover the sport and I interact with fans across the country every single day, and these are also people that have credibility, they won't be swayed by that, right? They get on TV and make bad picks every day.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be some type of analytic, some computer formula. I'm not saying the computer decides it, but numbers also play a part in it. Like you say, you need a human element, but numbers also play a part in it. Like, whatever the category is. So I mean, so
I just want clarity of what they're looking at.
Well,
because
and they're gonna get a little relief.
Same 5 things that we should all be able to look at, right? I look at these things in this order.
Clarity and consistency.
Exactly. Because this is what we thought it was. We thought it was conference championships, strength of record. Or no, I'm sorry. They gave us a new stat when some of this came about. It was conference championships, game control, which is a statistic that tells you how other top 25 teams, if they would be able to do what you did versus your schedule, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be that game control, strength of record, then head-to-heads.
Yeah. And, and just, when you're on the other side, when it comes to coaching, man, it's matchups. It's just things play out so differently. Like, you could put all these good schools together. Like, it's going to be a different game, Georgia versus Michigan, than it is Georgia versus a full strength Florida State team. So like matchups, because the coach is just trying to win the game. Because that, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Wins and losses. But now, like you said earlier, it's in the fashion and how you do it. It's not like, oh, you won, you're undefeated, but now you look like you struggled a little bit, so we're gonna bump you down, even though you won and you're undefeated. I mean, and like Florida State experienced that last week, and now this week they're back up in it. And like I say, they got help because of Ohio State, but like it's a whole thing. But what is it next year? They move to the 12.
They moved to 12.
Yeah, so that'll be a
And we're
little
just going
relief.
to kick the can down the road. We're going
Yeah.
to have the same conversation. But now I have less sympathy because, you
And
know, if you're in that 8 through 12 range, when
the
you look
sample
at
size is
just,
gonna be smaller, and
you're
the
dealing with multiple
the
lost teams at that
the
point.
sexiness of
Right.
it, yeah, it's gonna be a little different. So
So if
now
I
it's
get left out because I lost 2 games,
yeah,
and the game also yet has not yet evolved
you
to that kind of parity either,
you'll
where
get, but you'll get more clarity down
Oklahoma,
there too. You'll get more clarity
right,
down there.
where
Yeah.
Oklahoma could go on the road too, because it would be, what would it be? It would be, because the top 4 would get buys, so
Yeah.
Oklahoma would have to go on the road to Oregon
Hmm.
and win the game. They can't do that
Yeah.
yet. Like the
Yeah.
game's not there yet. So
Yeah.
the 12-team playoff is cute and sexy, but we'll just be
Yeah.
having these same conversations about
Yeah.
seeding and
Once
Oregon,
again, you can't
Oklahoma,
please everybody.
Oklahoma versus
Yeah.
LSU, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. You
because
can't please
that's a
everybody.
conversation we'd be having this year.
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, that's good stuff, man. Well, I know you're still mad about it. We're gonna preview
Oh, I'm
these
fired up.
these conference championship games. We're gonna briefly touch on just some of the coaching movement. I mean, that's that's always exciting to me, just to see the coaching changes, and not necessarily people getting fired, but just coaches getting new opportunities, and just knowing a lot of guys out there, man. The movement, not just with the head coach, but assistants and things like that. Has there been any hire that's kind of got you fired up, or minus A&M, we said, okay, they've got a coach, a pretty damn good coach, and you can't wait till next year to go against the Aggies, in the
I
SEC.
love the Mike Elko hire. I would have
Yes.
picked him up from the
Yeah.
airport if I could
Yeah.
have, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Defensive minded head coaches, with the exception of Kirby Smart, with the exception of Nick Saban, defensive head coaches just typically do not fare that well in today's game. They just don't. They haven't. Plus, defense wasn't where A&M was struggling, right? So
Yeah.
even if he makes their defense a little bit better, still doesn't fix the problem that they have. I expect a couple of kids are going to jump in the portal.
Natural
But
attrition, yeah.
I do believe Mike Elko is a very good coach. I'm just of the belief he won't have the horses in the first couple of years. And then some of it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that if I don't start out with the dogs to run in the race, I never get them.
Yeah. And this, I will say this, because I am very open-minded, and I coach college. If somebody called me tomorrow, I'll coach the NFL. But this is where the portal does help you. This is where it's beneficial. But like we talked about, kids losing their coach that they committed themselves to.
Correct.
So yeah, like I said, there's situations for it. But yeah, so I mean, I know Oregon State promoted from within. Their head coach went to Michigan State. What's another hire I just saw? I know I've got it on the ticker, but I can't remember. But Mike Elko is still probably the biggest splash as far as like head coaching hires, and it's early. It's very
But
early.
imagine paying $78 million to fire a coach just to go hire a coach from his coaching tree. Isn't that wild? But I will also say not an individual hiring, but maybe just kind of en masse. I said earlier in the show, I love to win and I'll do almost anything to win. There is a line, and I do think the SEC is getting dangerously close. To that line. With, you've seen Levy get a job, you've seen Bobby Petrino get a job, you've seen Hugh Freeze get a job, you've seen Chris Beard get another job. All and everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Everybody deserves their day in court. But at a point when you become the conference that all these guys are able to go to, because that conference prioritizes winning over everything. I just don't want us to lose sight of. I have never expected, and I love your dad to death, right? I don't think you expect coaches to raise your kids, but there is no denying the fact that you sometimes send these kids as 17-year-olds, and you don't get them back until between 22 and 24, right? And people are very impressed, especially young men are very
Impressionable.
impressionable during that time. So I don't want to lose sight of that as well, that you are still responsible for continue at minimum keeping these kids on the path that their parents have put them on and not exposing them to wild different things. But I just think the SEC is getting dangerously close to just saying win. I
Yeah,
don't care about anything else, just
mhm.
win.
And
And
it's tough.
that's there's a line.
It is tough, like you say, because of the age of social media and the lack of not say in-house, but like our team business or school business is our business.
Correct.
Not to say they're hiding anything, but I also know every situation is unique and individually and
Right.
it's different. And we don't know everything. Even I'm talking about just you and I. We don't know
Yep. Yep.
everything because
Yep.
you and I
Yep.
both know we've been around kids from the high school level to college level, and it is, every situation is different, and what fits for me may not fit for you, or this kid has this issue of, compared to this. If you're AD empathetic to situations and what's more important, yeah, there's rules and core values, but I mean, is he a guy that's about second chances,
Yep.
because kids are going to make mistakes,
Yep.
is he about just, not defining someone by their past, because we talked about it with Coach
Yeah.
Sark. We,
Fair.
we, we talked
Fair.
about it,
Fair.
so I understand the look and the message,
Yeah.
since the people that's just kind of just looking past, oh, didn't this guy do this? Even Dave Chappelle, made a thing about
Right.
that, talking
Right.
about
Right.
other
Right.
political issues. So, just people sometimes, need to look at it, because when your child is not involved, when you're not invested in any part of that, it's easy to say that. But if
Yep.
your child slips or just makes a mistake, a human mistake, you want him to see that, yes, there's
Correct.
people that are not going to look at you different and say, hey, you are still who you are. Don't do it again,
Right.
but okay, like, your career is not over. Now,
But don't you
yeah,
start? Don't you now? uh, I'll keep what I'm thinking in my head, but I want us. I don't want us to get to a point to
I know what you're saying.
where redemption is automatic,
Yes,
because
yes,
there is some stuff
you
that
can't come back from.
quite candidly
Yeah,
you shouldn't come back from.
exactly. And I agree. And that's
And
why I
I
say
just think
everything is
we're moving
different.
that
Yeah,
line. We're
yeah,
moving that line
yeah.
of what you can't come back from
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
little bit too far for my taste.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's been some clear cut issues, and
Yes.
it's just, it's a touchy deal, but that is a great point. And I mean, we all, we all see it, but sometimes we're seeing it through different lenses. You and I are in Texas. We're not in Mississippi. We're
Yeah.
not in, wherever. So, I
Texas
mean,
A&M just lost a basketball game for those who care.
all right. With that, we're gonna move on. So we're gonna talk about what went around the 12 real quick, recap it. Um
Is that
one,
57-7? Was that the
one,
score? Yikes.
that was a total butt whipping. If I to keep it as family friendly as possible. I mean, the first quarter showed, oh, okay, it might be a game, and after that, it made me even more mad about us losing to Texas Tech. To be honest with you, um, Texas handled business. They did what they had to do. You're gonna talk about that, so we're not gonna really, harp on it. TCU, Oklahoma. I don't know. It's like whoever had the ball last was gonna win the game. Was gonna win the game. Um, I don't know. You tell me. The Central Florida win over Houston sealed the fate of of Coach Holgerson, or I don't know if that was in the works already.
Coach Holgerson sealed the fate of Coach Holgerson when you get up in front of a camera and a microphone and you tell them, I've got an impossible buyout.
Oh,
When you start to, because here's what college football has taught us. You can't be a loser. You can only be one. You can only, and we've seen it.
yeah.
You cannot point to me one instance of somebody who's both. You
Mhm.
can only be either or.
Yeah.
So when you become both, and I'm a Texas fan, I know who was in charge before Steve Sarkisian got here,
Mhm.
right? Same thing. When you weren't winning at a high level and you were unpleasant to be around, your job doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
So that sealed the fate. But I also think Houston has some high expectations of themselves because what they did under Kevin Sumlin, what they did under Tom Herman. Now, at post Tom Herman, has it slipped? Absolutely, right? Because Major Applewhite was a failure. Dana Holgerson now was a failure.
Do you
So
think it's
you
because
kind of
you think it's because of the conference change?
no, I don't think he's. I mean, here's the thing, and this is it's gonna sound like a dig or it's gonna be a soundbite for somebody or whatever. But here's the thing: when Texas is good, when Texas is elite,
Mm-hmm.
the other schools in Texas suffer because you don't have the Ed Olivers
Mm-hmm.
of the world going to Houston anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the
Houston
who am I,
kids.
the Houston kids
Oh,
that
Case
are going to
Keenums, the
Houston
Case Keenums, or
you don't
the
but the RG3s you don't, because
yeah,
when you're elite you also don't miss talent like that either,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because your organization as a whole, your personnel department, everybody's on top of it, and those kids don't get missed. So you don't have the RG3s at Baylor. You don't have the Weavers and other elite wide receivers going to a TCU. They
Mm-hmm.
come to Texas. If they don't go to Texas, they go to Texas A&M. So ultimately, when you have, and there's an alternate universe where both of those teams become elite, and then now you're really talking about, all the rest of these schools in Texas beginning to suffer or beginning to need to become a little bit more of a national brand. So I don't think it was a conference switch that did them in. I think it was the rise
The evil empire of Austin.
of the other schools,
Yeah,
right? Because there was also a world that Texas A&M was a hot place to go to.
yeah,
I'm not naive to that.
yeah.
Those kids, how many of those kids that became a part of that best recruiting class ever,
It's just,
LOL,
it's just
right? How many of those
shots
kids,
fired.
right? How many of those kids, two or three of those kids may end up at Houston or
Yeah.
Texas Tech or TCU in the past,
Ladies and
right?
gentlemen, what Eric Foster is saying is when Texas is a little down, that's when other schools get the benefit and get those better kids. And when they're up,
There's
nobody
that
else is getting them.
fringe there's that fringe world that five-star kids, with the exception of Ed Oliver, and
Yeah.
you'd have to we'll hopefully get a Texas insider one day. I got somebody in mind that he's at the
Okay.
tail end of his coaching career. We'll get him on here to tell that Ed Oliver story
I
of how
got you.
that even happened.
Okay.
But when you have the five-star kids aren't going to Texas Tech. The five-star kids aren't going to TCU anymore. The five-star kids aren't going to Houston, or they aren't going to Baylor. Those are developmental programs. They get kids that have elite speed, thinking of Art Browse and Baylor in the past, and they develop them into route runners, or just say, hell, just run real fast and we'll get it down there to you, type stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And-
but those fringe, those five
yeah.
stars, those aren't in the mix. But there was those fringe, low 4 stars, high 3 stars that every program needs, Texas included, that were going to those other schools. But now you have a proposition where you're telling these kids you're a high 3 star or you're a low 4 star, and coming to sit the bench at Texas is better than going to play at
Wow.
Houston.
Wow.
And that's the change. It's not just
Yeah. That's
it
something you said about
it's
that.
just
Yeah.
that just becomes more attractive. We've seen kids quite literally at Texas right now that are preferred walk-ons, not even on scholarship, that
That
have
were
had
offered other
scholarship
places.
offers to SMU, to Baylor, to TCU, but being at Texas was because you're going to get, even if it's come be at Texas, be on the practice squad, get developed, and then maybe you'll get a year, or you hope Texas is good enough to blow people out and you get some garbage time minutes that you can put on tape to then go to another program. I a player in mind, and his mom is amazing on Twitter, but a kid who had other scholarship offers coming out of Texas, Byron Vaughns, right? Never got the ability to play at Texas. but he had other scholarship offers coming in. He goes to Utah State, balls out, then ends up at Baylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a portal kid, right? So that those are the kinds of kids that still choose to go to Texas. Prime example, defensive player of the year of the Big 12, defensive lineman of the year in the Big
We,
12.
we had to get he had to squeeze that in there.
Both of those kids were 3-star kids
Wow. Wow.
coming out of high school.
That's
But you
crazy.
come to Texas and you come back as
Yeah.
seniors, now you're
Yeah.
going to go be first
Yeah.
and third round draft picks.
And that's a very valid point, and that's backed up with what we just saw when the Big 12 all conference Big 12 team came out today. Big Sweat was, defensive player of the year. Ollie Gordon was offensive player of the year. Coach of the year was Coach Gundy out of Stillwater, Oklahoma.
That made me, I'll tell you what, it fired me up at first, but it also made me so happy because Coach Sarkisian is such a cool customer
Mhm.
that his natural impulse is not to be Steve Spurrier or Urban Meyer and
Yeah.
run you out of the stadium. That is not his natural impulse.
Yeah.
So now so as a fan, I'm concerned that that's what needs to happen for us to get to where we want to get to as a program. It makes it a little easier. Oh, this was the offensive player of the year. Oh,
Yeah.
this guy was the coach of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And I already need to beat you. I already
Yeah.
need to run it
Yeah.
up.
Oh, it's a great
I don't have
setup.
to think.
Yeah.
I don't have to think that hard about it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go for it on fourth. Go for it on
Yeah.
fourth down.
Yeah. I'm coaching against the coach of the year in the conference, and you got the running back going against the D lineman or offense,
Oh
defense,
yeah.
right there playing in the Big 12 conference game. But yeah, we're gonna move through. So West Virginia squeaks out one against Baylor. It just continues. Biggest surprise. I tell you what, that snow game, Iowa State, Kansas State, man, it just that gave me such an old school feel. And go Cyclones. They won the game. I didn't pick that one. We didn't see that coming. Oklahoma State, BYU started off slow. I mean, BYU jumped out to what, a 24-6 lead, if I'm not mistaken. And we really thought that we were going to have a rematch in the Big 12 championship of the Red River Shootout, but Oklahoma State found a way.
That could have been the what I'm mad about still too,
Yeah.
because two reasons. I will give Mike Gundy his due. If you ask me, if you tell me, all things are equal talent wise,
Mhm.
who's a coach you don't want coaching against your program, it's Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
He's shown us, I think Texas has lost 8 of the last 10. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. Thank you for
Yep.
that stat
Yeah.
to the production team. Thank you for that stat. But
Yeah.
so he's not a guy that it makes me excited
Yeah,
to
he
go up
and he's
against.
not afraid of it either. Yeah.
He is not afraid of it. He clearly has a message that he can sell in that locker room that
Mhm.
those players will buy into, and those players have done it.
Mhm.
So they don't give a darn about
Yeah.
Texas, and they're looking forward to the challenge. I think what does excite me is you've got they're not very good when they can't run the ball.
Mhm.
And guess what you can't do against this defensive line?
Yeah.
Pack it up, buddy.
I tell you what, that's gonna be a great match. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. But we're gonna get close to that. What we're gonna do now? We're gonna recap our games. I'm gonna go first because it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to,
Raw chalk, baby.
hey,
I'm happy for you guys.
hey, I didn't know. I want to go suicide watch, not just because we're both eligible, but we're better than what, like I said, we went through some quarterback not controversy. I'm sorry, adversity. That's my term, adversity. But Kansas goes into Cincinnati, man, wins 49-16. And I tell you what, just some quick notes about it before I go through the game real quick. Jason Bean, 13 for 17, 250 yards. His first damn 10 passes, he was 10 for 10 for 190 yards. Highest QBR rating in the nation at 99.5. So congrats to that kid. Also had 4 rushes for 90 yards and 2 tutties as well. So, I mean, he accounted for 4 touchdowns by himself. with those two passing touchdowns, it moved them into fourth place all time in school history with 32 passing touchdowns. And who did he pass up? Our very own Jalen Daniels. So I saw something where somebody said it's crazy to have two of the top quarterbacks in Kansas football history on the same team at the same time, and they're playing. I mean, just you couldn't plan this. You couldn't write a script
Right.
out like this. Devin Neal continues to roll 10 carries for 106 yards. If you mathematicians out there, that is 10.6 yards a carry and two tutties. So, I mean, watching it, they started off slow. I mean, I was watching it, you have that feeling, coming off of two losses and any sign of struggle, especially against a team that was 3-8, which I don't look at schedules because like I said earlier, every matchup is different. So I don't look at schedules. Yeah, you'll get an idea of what we should do, but matchups are different. It's just the way the teams are configured. So I kind of had that pit feeling like, oh God, Cincinnati scored first, and that's that whole stat. When we don't score first, we're on the losing end more than the winning end. But nevertheless, we finally got it going in the second quarter and got some momentum. Kobe Bryant, I don't have the video, but probably had the interception of the year, arguably the interception catch of the year. The one hand, I mean, you got to go back and look it up.
Manny Muhammad did the same thing in the Texas game, but everyone judge for yourself.
No doubt, no doubt. So, like I said, got that, and then that interception put Kansas on the momentum. Next play, Jason Bean hits Luke Grimm on a 40-yard strike. Devin Neal scores on the 13-yard touchdown. After that, and we go up 7-3 in the second quarter. That's the only thing that bothered me. That it took us so long to score. Come back, we get a 3 and out. We stopped their tail, which I love. Defense showed up big for us. I think Kenny Logan led the defense to safety with 10 tackles, which put him at 86 for the year, which leads the team 377 for his career, which is the most by any DB in Kansas history. Which Kansas has some good DBs: Aqib Talib, Kwame Lassiter, just to name a few. Daryl Stuckey, Chris. I could go on and on. But nevertheless,
You can't go on that long, but I know.
Oh, hey, let me think. I can name a couple other ones anyway. But we end up going into halftime 21-10, man. And I mean, just after that, it kind of just rolled. I think that quarterback, tell me his name again, transfer kid, the kid from Cincinnati. They played two quarterbacks. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Golly, that bothered me. He played at Florida. Let me see if I have his name written down somewhere. I don't. Anyway, the quarterback is dangerous on his feet, and I thought he was going to be trouble for us because I think early in the game they converted on a lot of fourth downs and they were quarterback runs, they were quarterback scrambles. They were running the ball on fourth down, which we've struggled at, as a defense throughout the year. But they found a way to continue to be a bend, not break, and just going over some numbers. Kansas, you say held them, but I mean, we won the stats when we had to, and I think, looking at it, Kansas had 312 yards rushing to Cincinnati's 231, which is still a lot. That still concerns me. But in the passing, we passed 250 yards and held Cincinnati to 111. So I'm happy about that. 562 total yards of offense to 342, 23 first downs. Where we didn't show up, where we're usually pretty consistent and where we're always a stronghold is, time possession and offensive plays that we run. We only ran 51 offensive plays compared to Cincinnati's 73. So that's a big discrepancy. That is uncharacteristic of the Kansas offense. That's okay. First team All Big 12 cornerback, Kobe Bryant, like I say, I forgot it. I think it's his eighth career interception or eighth career interception. So I mean, he continues to roll. He's still up there along with my guy Dotson on most pick sixes in school history. So they're rolling, man. We even got a chance to see Dylan McDuffie score on a touchdown. We continue to use everybody on offense. I also saw my guy. Now that I'm on camera, I'm gonna forget names. Number 12, we still did some Wildcat stuff with our running backs and just keeping the pressure off the quarterbacks. But golly, Jason Bean, I mean, coming back, he looked great, man. And I mean, I didn't that 10 for 10, you didn't see it. It wasn't like he came out, like he's just delivering it, but it just, like I said, we started off slow, but we came in, we finally found our rhythm, man. And just looking back, with that being the regular season finale, I thought that was a high note to end off on. Last time Kansas was at Cincinnati was in '97, which was my freshman year, and it wasn't pretty. And I'm so glad they got it back. 8 wins on the year. This team still continues to wow me in ways. We have playmakers. I think we need to start getting used to that as a Kansas football community, as Kansas fans, as an expectation. We have playmakers, and we need to expect these guys to show up, and they have showed up. 8 wins on the year. We talked about this. I'm going to touch on it. I really think we could have had a few more wins, this year. I mean, looking back on last year, the big thing was we were 6-6. We became bowl eligible. We started off hot. We had a little hiccup against TCU, and that kind of, with Jalen Daniels got hurt last year, that kind of, had some bumps in the road. Then Jason Bean has to come and start his first game. We lose to Oklahoma, so that's 2 back-to-back losses. And we found a way to get it done. So, from 6-6 to 8-4 is great. I think that's the first 8-win season since 2007 to 2008 for Kansas. So, kudos to those guys. But just looking at a couple, the games we did lose, minus the Texas game. Texas Tech last year, we lost 43-28. Okay, in Lubbock. This year, Jason Bean goes out. We lose 16-13 with a true freshman quarterback. I'm going to come back around to that while I'm pointing that out. Last year, we lost to Kansas State 47-27. This year, we lose 31-24. Not to say that drop punt was the reason we lost, because the game is 4 quarters. There's other things that could have led up to put us in a better position. But to highlight those games, you and I, and you brought up a great saying. You talk about when programs are building and on an upward trend. Now correct me if I'm wrong. You talk about losing,
You lose big,
big,
you
you lose
lose
close,
close, you
and you
win
win
close,
close,
you win
and then you
big.
exactly. So I think Kansas is definitely trending in that direction. I could be biased, and I could sound biased when I talked to Eric earlier, and I said I really feel that Kansas could have been a 10-win team. I mean, just a play here, a play there. I'm gonna leave it at that. But this team is very capable, man. And I mean, losing 3 games by average of 5.5 to 6 points is considerable improvement in the program as a whole. Like you say, 6-6 last year, 8-4 this year. So I'm definitely proud of those guys, and the way they responded coming off of 2 losses on the road in Cincinnati in the night game, and we got it done. So rock chalk, baby. So that's all I got for my Jayhawks. I'm happy with it, and it never gets old. I mean, I continue to play it again. It's rock chalk all day. So
As a neutral observer, I can honestly say I do believe the Kansas program is on an upward trend. I think we talked
mhm,
about. I was very happy to have Mike Elko be named the Texas A&M head coach, because it was a lot better than it being Jeff Traylor or Lance Leipold. Because you know those, it is clear that when it comes to X's and O's, Coach Leipold knows what he's doing.
yeah, yeah,
Here, look at the games and how much better they are in the second half versus how they are in the first half. Uh,
hmm
the game plan, I think that was one of the things that I learned to look at this as grasping for hope coming out of a 5-7 Texas season. And it was another football coach that said, why do I believe Sark? It was in the Athletic, I think, long article. Went on to talk about, why do I think we have the right guy? Because they start off games great. That means the plan is sound.
hmm
It's depth. It's
hmm
second half adjustments. It's other things that you have to grow into and kind of iterate as the season goes on.
Good
But I
point.
think,
And
look at
that's some
Kansas.
can't
Yeah,
exactly.
if you see Kansas, I've never seen them come into a game, with the exception of one, where it was like that. The plan wasn't. There was no backup.
yeah.
So kudos to Kansas, and I think again you guys are on an upward trend, so it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah.
In the mid 12, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be in Arlington.
Ooh,
In
hater.
year, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be in Arlington in for years to come while the game is still in Arlington. It's probably gonna move pretty soon.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna say this is outlandish, but we were close to being there this year for the rematch. But I mean, it was possible. Years ago, you would have looked at me like, dude, y'all were nowhere near. But like I say, I mean, getting the Texas rematch, you never know.
Mangino,
But
Mangino era, the Mangino era, that was believable.
oh yeah, yeah, and even when y'all got lucky on that fourth, and we're not gonna go there. But I did hear a
Do we
nasty
want to
rumor
talk about?
today. No,
Ooh,
no, no, no. I did hear a nasty rumor today that the head coach from Penn State was in Lawrence vetting our OC.
ooh,
I heard, I heard that.
he's gonna
I
go
hope
too.
I hope that's a nasty rumor. It's
He's gonna go.
that's all. But I'm just putting it out there for fun. I unequivocally hope and believe that Coach Andy Kolenecki will stay with his guy. That's been his guy, Coach Leipold. I mean, you could say go coach in the Big Ten, go coach at Penn State, go do whatever. And this could all be rumors, and I'm not a rumor guy, but because I love
But give
Kansas.
me, but if you're being honest, why stay? If I could choose, and my goal, I'm assuming Coach Kolenecki's goal is like any other assistant coach's goal is to be a head coach one day. If
Because
that's my goal, and I want to be head, I don't want to just be a head coach just to say I'm a head coach. I don't want to be at Sam Houston just saying I'm a head coach.
yeah,
I want to go somewhere with an opportunity to
I
build a
don't.
program and win.
What
Why
what
do
what?
I
Well,
stay?
are you building? Are you really building at Penn State? What's going to be your
Yeah,
leadway?
because there is a threshold that you have not crossed
Yeah.
in beating Ohio State and beating Michigan. So
Yeah,
if
that
you
that's
go
true.
there, if you go there and you are a part of overcoming that hurdle,
There, there
I
there's
think
there's
it's I think it's I
there's a
think
lot of
it's a
things to
really good
consider.
opportunity.
It is, but there's a lot of things to consider. Not to say that a lateral move is bad or wrong, but just in the comfort of this whole
I'd argue
coaching
it's not a
staff.
lateral move though.
Well, I mean,
Shout out to Penn State.
well, yeah, well, I mean, it just
It ain't. It ain't.
it's
Stop it.
about,
It ain't.
but you
It
know
ain't.
what? But if Penn State continues to be the little brother of those two
Correct.
schools, then then
Correct.
then then now you're just comparing conference prestige. Like say if Kansas on the upward trend and they make it to Arlington and now they're one of the tops in the Big 12. Now what does it become? Is it just a historical thing? Because we're talking about right now, and we're talking about where this team is competing in their conference and what Kansas has done. What I was going to say from a coaching standpoint, now it's like okay, yeah, it may be more money. I don't know. It may be who
Would
do you get to
imagine.
bring, who do you get to bring with you? Who knows this system? Who do you not have to be over their shoulder? No, like because that's the whole thing. When they've been him and Coach Leipold have been together at every stop, and so these guys as well as the quarterback coach, the receiver coach, they know this system, and the offense is it's a little different. Yeah, it's spread, it's up tempo, but it's a different system, and I mean it's very intricate. It's almost I think it's almost remember when the Canada offense was real hot at Pittsburgh
Hmm.
and everybody,
Hmm.
oh man, these guys are coming off the ball, they're shifting, they're upsetting their motion, they're doing all this. Well, Kansas has kind of done that, but they've done it a little longer now,
Right.
as far as like the consistency of it and it's catching on. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, anytime, like I say, a victim of your own success, sometimes, when we start to have success and me having such an inside track with Kansas and knowing what we've been through in the football world and the fracture that Coach Leipold and his staff is healing up, that they're fixing and they were moving up. You don't want something like this
Absolutely
to come
not.
along to
Right.
to knock it off track or to rip a part of the scab off,
Yeah.
of a team. So, but that's what that comes with the territory, man. When you have
Continuity is absolutely
yeah,
key.
and
Yeah.
it's just I say I just do it out there for fun. I'm gonna put my school up against anyone. I'm gonna think that they're gonna do what they have to do to keep the guys there to keep them happy. Loyalty is a big deal in coaching and coaching staffs. Yeah, you're not gonna hold your guys back. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, if it's just a matter of you're going to coach in a different conference and more prestige, I mean, you're going to try to
As a
help them.
neutral, as a neutral observer, I do feel like it's a
You're going to
step
feel like
up.
yeah, yeah. I
I
understand that.
do feel
I
like
do understand that.
we're talking about Penn State game that's gonna draw 6 million viewers a game,
Mm-hmm.
where it's going to take probably 3 or 4 Kansas game to get 6 million viewers. Not no shade. That's
Mm-hmm.
just the facts. So again, I think if you can do now, if you go and you fail, then no, it wasn't. But nobody
Yeah.
thinks like that, right? You think
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I go and we
Mm-hmm.
do things that we haven't done in a very long time, I only got to go work at Penn State for a year, maybe 2. If we go
Yeah.
do the things that I think we can do. But enough of that. We want to talk about the
Yeah.
team that is going to Arlington. Uh,
Touche,
uh,
touche.
well,
Tell me about it. Tell me
uh,
about it. It wasn't much to. It wasn't much to really worry about. I mean,
dude, I tell you what, I have been in DKR for quite a few blowout. Texas doesn't really get blown out at home. I can't say that I've been to. I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but it may have happened. But I've been to a couple of blowouts in DKR. I have never stayed to the end of the game. I have never
I
had
wondered. I
as much.
wondered.
I have never had as much fun as I had on Friday for a couple of reasons. I think the given opponent, given the result from last year, given the fact that somehow everything runs through Lubbock, given the fact that the commissioner was there and he wasn't going to, and I mean, they booed him. He walked in with security, by the way, which is just odd. I don't know if that happens everywhere, but he walked in with campus police and he walked around and they booed him. They knew who he was. They booed his butt all the way around the stadium.
Give him the Roger Goodell treatment, huh?
Right. And well, unbeknownst to the masses, a couple of players had told me this, but they talked about it in the post game. They've been playing that clip in the weight room
Oh
all
wow,
week.
wow,
That's it.
wow.
Those 2 clips are all that were running in the weight room during their lifting sessions that
Love it,
week.
love it.
So
I love
those
it,
players had that ingrained in their mind
love it, love it.
as if you needed more momentum or more
Exactly.
motivation,
Yeah.
right? So it was as dominant a Texas performance as I can remember. They were elite in all 3 phases of the game. They scored touchdowns in all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams.
Mm.
I have never heard an ovation for a backup quarterback so loud in my life. I actually
Oh my
didn't
God. Yes.
realize what was happening.
Yes.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was looking down at my phone. I didn't
Uh,
realize what was happening,
you get
and
on
the
TV.
crowd
Yeah. It was wild.
went nuts. And I
Yeah.
looked up because we didn't know at that time. We in the stadium. We didn't know that Malik Murphy had gotten hurt.
Oh, okay.
So Malik Murphy had gotten injured on the long interception run. He was kind of play watching and got ran into
Oh wow.
and hurt his throwing shoulder. So they took him. They had to take
Wow.
him back to the locker room. And you were so focused on the game that you didn't notice that. So we were expecting after that defensive touchdown, we were like, oh, okay, they're probably going to pull the starters.
Mm-hmm.
Malik's going to come in, and I'm looking at my phone for something else, and it felt like DKR was shaking. I was like, what the hell?
I know
I
that
look up and
the anticipation,
you've been to games with me,
man. Hmm.
so you know my seat neighbor, and
Oh my God.
he was shaking me, and he was like, "It's Arch, it's Arch,"
Oh, I
and
had to get
that's
massages because of the dude beating the hell out of me at the game.
shout out to Tommy.
Yeah, great guy, great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but no, so and I mean the fans were engaged. The student section was
I know.
incredible.
That's crazy.
For being on break too, those kids stayed in
Yeah.
town. They went to the game and they were loud
I mean,
and rowdy the
I can only
whole
imagine
game.
what a night. You go into the Big 12, your number one recruit with the name,
Yeah.
coming in. And hey, let me tell you something, man. He can run a little bit. He can
Oh
run.
yeah. And
He
shout
run
out
way
to
better
the
than his uncles.
he runs like his granddaddy. He runs
Yeah,
like his daddy.
yeah,
People
yeah,
forget
yeah.
that
Cooper
before he
Manning.
got
Yeah,
injured,
yeah. Cooper Manning was the real deal.
Cooper Manning was not an also ran as a
Yeah,
wide
yeah.
receiver, right?
Exactly.
He wasn't Peyton and Eli's little brother. He ended up
Yeah,
being that because he got hurt, but he
exactly.
absolutely
Had a
had the
season injury
talent.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, he absolutely had the talent that had he stayed healthy
No
would have
doubt.
been able to stand on his own 2 feet at the Thanksgiving table.
No doubt.
But no, and shout out to the administration. we had all kind of fireworks I hadn't seen. We had LEDs. They had a live performance of um, "Thank God I Was Born a Texas Longhorn."
Oh my God.
They made it. They made it a
Oh my
spectacle,
God.
and you stay. I just thought, I was like, Texas purports, at least from the school point of view, purports to be classy and above the fray and all that. So I
Mhm.
was like, there's no way we'll see the things on the video board and stuff like that. David, when they played that video of Brett Yormark, and they waited. It was like,
Oh my
and I
God.
think they expected the state. You probably expected the stadium to be empty in a
Mhm.
blowout like that, but it was like 30 something seconds left in the game, and they played it. And so it was layered, right? Because it was a couple of things. One, in the speech, he said, "I'm not going to put any pressure on you." So they played the video, and then they put a message up that said, "See you in Arlington." And the song that was playing in the background was "Under Pressure." It was
Oh
incredible.
wow.
It was the
Wow.
level of pettiness that I couldn't even aspire to. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was a great night. Like I said, I was really proud to be a fan of the Texas Longhorns, just both in their play, in the
Yeah.
production, and in the outcome.
Total
And
dominance. Total
it
dominance.
was total dominance. But I think that's what sometimes teams need to see this. I know it's true in basketball.
Mhm.
I imagine it's true in all sports, that sometimes teams need to see everything go right
Mhm.
to know that it's possible. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you don't think we can play perfect or elite in all three phases of the game. You may just think, some one night something has to be off.
Yeah.
And on this night, nothing was
Yeah.
off. The
Exactly.
one kind of thing that I marked is we still weren't elite on third down. We were 3 for 11 on third down.
Mm.
Four of those 3 or 4 of those third downs came with Arch at the helm. So
Okay. Yeah.
you take away,
Yeah. Because one was a
but
drop
he
drop
also but
snap.
he also
Yeah.
got but he also got one of them as well with his
Yeah.
feet, or two of
Yeah.
them actually.
Yeah. But that was a drop
With
snap and
his
some other
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, it's but that
So we weren't elite there, but I thought everywhere else our rushing defense was elite. Our third down defense was elite. I would I don't I can't you can't give them credit in a blowout loss, but anytime someone sticks to their guns,
mhm.
in the sense of, I
Running the
gotta
ball.
look, but I think Texas Tech's 28 rushing attempts, it's got to be a season high, but I think it's a season high by maybe double digits, right?
Mhm.
Quite a bit, because most teams just kind of have come in this year knowing that's not going to be a thing,
Yeah.
and they have a backup plan. But they were not very, and if I'd have told you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that there would be a Texas Tech team that's not elite at passing the ball, you'd probably
I
think I was
know. I know. Ain't
crazy,
that
right?
something? Yeah. I know.
But they still were very physical. I thought you get worn down in a blowout, man. You just do. Your spirit is broken. You're
Oh yeah.
tired. So I thought a little bit of that happened too. But because it was Arch that was in the game, Texas's second unit was able to maintain a level of discipline. I think was one of the more impressive things. Arch's last drive that Texas scored on, that was an 8-minute drive. They got that ball back with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they scored with 30 something seconds left on the clock.
That's
Right.
good to see.
So
That's very good to see. Yeah.
it was good to see Sark going for it on fourth, and he likes Joey McGuire. Him and Joey McGuire are friends.
Yeah.
So that kind of made me happy that,
I think
hopefully
at
a
that point it
signal for
became
things to
bigger.
come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it became it
hopefully a
became
signal
bigger.
for things to come.
Yeah, but it became
I,
bigger than just him and Coach McGuire. We're trying to make a statement to get bumped up in this poll and to see, show you we're a dominant team going into the conference championship.
and I saw Tom Luganbill say, that wasn't a message to Coach McGuire. That was a
Yeah,
message to
yeah,
Brett
no doubt.
Yormark. That was a
Yeah,
message to the conference. And I
yeah.
hope that, Oklahoma State's not very good passing the ball. So I'm hopeful that they also try to rush Ollie Gordon 30 times.
Well, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna
Yeah.
get into that in the predictions. Right now, we're gonna take a pause and we're gonna head into some chalk talk. So we're gonna talk about some passing game stuff real quick. So check it out. All right, for today's chalk talk, we're gonna talk about the passing game, one scheme. We're gonna talk about shallow for all you air raid guys out there. We're gonna run shallow. Simple concept, simple to read. couple wrinkles, but let's just talk about the basic structure of the shallow concept. All right, so that's not good circles. Let's just go here. Okay, Q. Let's put it back there. Okay, so traditionally the structure, I'm gonna go route on the outside. Okay, I'm gonna run shallow at the heels of the defensive lineman. The heels of the defensive lineman. 10-yard dig or in. This back could be here. He could come up here and then bubble screen. He can go right now, or he can go in the flat right there. Okay, so that's the basic structure of the shallow concept. Okay, so we're going to look at it in different formations, see how it affects defenses versus man and zone. So let's all right. Let's draw it up versus we'll put it up here against a man defense. Okay, not liking the circles today. Okay, put them here, here, here. Okay, so structure. Let's just say this is strength of the field. So a lot of times we'll get that, that. Sam might be out here. I have that here. Mike will corner free. Okay, so if they're running man, okay, so that this will give you either a 2-man look off pre-snap or a cover 1 look. So it could be man, 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 man. Okay, 2-man halves. Everybody's manned up. Okay, so now you want to play the matchup game. So what's going to happen? Ball snap. Pressing, he's going here. Might beat him. This is going to make this guy carry. He's here. Make him carry. Okay, now we've got man. So we're going to run the shallow here. So this guy's coming right now. Okay, he should beat him on leverage. This guy's in man. This back is gone right now. May get a collision, may not. Guy might have to avoid getting here. Quarterback's going to see all that. You want to make sure he outside releases, outside shoulder releases. If this guy is here or here, he's got to fight like you know what to get outside release so he doesn't see this coming right now. 10 yards and just keep running because now we know we're in man. Okay, so you're gonna work from here to here, okay, versus this look right now. Okay, so he should beat him by alignment. If this quarterback eyes this first and sees this Mike trying to get over top and he's bumped now, he's probably going to throw it to the back. But if he's got some time and he gets a clean release, he's going to work here, see if he's got this guy chasing and waiting for this guy to show eyes. The rule here on this shallow route is to not show your eyes till you're ready for the ball. And then that's when the quarterback knows the receiver's ready for the ball. If he sits or this is dead, right here should be a big hole right here for the dig, and he's probably chasing anyway. And a lot of times this is open versus man and zone looks, but for the sake of man, you know, this route most of the time, because what could happen is right now, just real quick, what could happen is pre-snap. Oh, come on, baby. Pre-snap. Will could be here, and this free could be capped. Okay, and what I mean by capped is just line right up over the top of them. Okay, so that's a lot of times that's an indicator of a blitz. So right on the snap, or what he might come right here, and this free is gonna pick up this receiver late. Okay, so now this guy comes off the edge free, boom, he's gonna throw it to this shallow right here because he's already vacated the spot to where he's gonna go. Okay, so that's shallow versus man to man, but a man concepts underneath, man principles underneath. Okay, let's just look at it versus zone. Okay, here, here. We'll just give the same look for the sake of argument right now. We'll show some different things. All right, same deal. Sam corner. Well, corner. Okay, so we'll say cover two. We'll say cover two for the sake of that'll probably be a little more difficult than quarters. Okay, so cover two, if you know, he's pressing and he's trying to jam and force his guy outside. Carry eye on any flat player that's coming into his zone. Deep half, same thing. Pressing, jamming, trying to force some funnel outside. Eyes inside, keeping this guy on his hip. Okay. Oh, I forgot the mic. Now he's there. Okay. So dropping here, somewhat middle unless he's being brought on a blitz. Okay, so same thing. Fighting outside there. Those are dead. Okay. He's going. Might make him delay, but this Sam's probably gonna widen with him right here off the heels of the D line, running the shallow, showing eyes when he's ready. He's here outside, shoulder here. Now it's zone, so now he's gonna look for windows. He's gonna settle. He's not gonna keep running. Okay, so he could settle here if there's a window there, or he can go to the next one and settle right there. But he's not gonna go if they're, we're talking the middle of the field. We're talking these guys on hashes. Okay, so he's not gonna go past this hash on the backside or the far side or the opposite side. Okay, so running the shallow at the heel, so he should avoid any collision by these players right here. But this corner is going to have eyes because he's coming into his zone, his flat area. This wheel may come down on him because he may get his attention. But if the wheel comes down on him, then boom, that's probably going to be the first window. He's going to settle right up in there and hit. Wheel continues to carry, then he might go past the mic and settle in the next window. Okay, these guys are gone because the fades are carrying them. Okay, so that's shallow versus zone. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a couple of looks, and depending on what you call your receivers, they can be tagged. It can be tagged in multiple or different ways. Okay, so let's put the back over here just for fun. Okay, let's go here with a little compressed look or bunch look. Okay, we're here. All right. So now same thing. We could flip it. Okay, or so we had the inside receiver running the shallow. So just working from this side, we're gonna have him run the shallow now. We could short motion, stack him, get him now. He's got the clear out. He's here, and he's widening out. Okay, same thing. Okay, and the back could come here, and then he's gonna get back across. Okay, most times in air raid concepts or rules, the dig and the flat or the running back, the swing is going in the same direction or going opposite of the shallow. I'll just say it like that, going opposite direction of the shallow. Okay, so you can tag it, you can condense it, you can tag different people running the shallow. Okay, you can also go, let's say for the sake of argument, let's just say X, H, Y, and Z. Okay, so you can call whatever your number system in shallow, Z shallow, X post. So now you're here running the post over the top. Okay, so you've got a 2 high beater over there, and you've got a 1 high or man beater over here. Okay, so there's different ways to do it, and so that's the second wrinkle. So another wrinkle, last wrinkle I'm going to show you. Same concept, but throwing the screen off of it. Okay, so let's just, we're getting good and wide. I'm gonna run it. We're gonna run it by. Let's run it 3-by-1. Okay. Let's go here, here, here. Okay. And we're gonna have him on the ball. Okay. Back here. All right. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna run shallow screen. Okay. And so what we're gonna do is let's draw it up against the defense. So if you have this now, it's flipped strength wise. So you might have this. Okay. I'm just gonna draw whatever you have. Might get the Sam out here splitting the difference. Here, corner here. So now you got your Mike here and your Will here. Okay. So versus 3-by-1. Okay. So shallow screen. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go block. That's fine. We've got the go block. Gonna come here and combo. One takes over to the next level. He goes and looks for the most dangerous guy. Okay. He's gonna run him off. Okay. What's gonna happen here is the old line is gonna invite these guys up the field. Okay. So these guys, they're gone. They're running. He's got a little deeper drop. I'm sorry. I take that back. He's a shallow guy. What he's gonna do, I apologize. What he's gonna do is he's gonna drive right off these guys' heels, but he's gonna also make sure that he's behind the line of scrimmage, okay? And he may take a beat and a buzz, okay? So what I mean by a beat and a buzz, he's here on the ball snap account, kind of buzz his feet to show some movement, and then he's gone. And he does that to give these linemen a chance to invite and then release, invite and release, invite and release, and so on. And now he's coming right off of these guys' butt and catching it behind the line of scrimmage. That's why these guys are able to go block right away when the ball is snapped. Okay, this back is going to just free release, occupy this corner just for a beat because he's going to be out leveraged anyway. This end is gone, so this guy might go here. There's always a free hitter, always a free player, but he's so out of position, he might not. We might be able to outrun him. Okay, so that's shallow screen. So you have the shallow concept and the shallow screen. So that's a quick air raid concept with a little wrinkle to it. You run it out of 2-by-2 formations, 3-by-1. You can bunch them up, condense the formation, stack them, motion, whatever you want to do. So hope you enjoyed that chalk talk. All right, so hope you enjoyed that chalk talk, man. I love getting on the board, talking ball. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about our predictions from last week, and what we went, like say 6-1. This is not terrible. I didn't think that K-State would lose, but I'm glad they did as a Jayhawk. I'm glad. So yeah, moving on. So this week, a highlighted game, Big 12 championship, Arlington, Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas. We don't have to ask who Eric has, but me not having a dog in the fight.
Give me some keys to the game. What are you watching for?
Well, what I'm watching for is I'm talking about Texas. Okay, college football playoff implications on performance. Okay, so I'm watching for how they look and how they're gonna look to the committee winning this game and being bumped ahead of Oregon. Okay. I'm looking for their defense to continue to dominate. It's going to be a challenge with one of the, if not the best running back in the nation, going head to head with him. We talked about it earlier, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year versus the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. But we talked about how they've run the ball well, but also talked about earlier going to the K-State Texas game where I think Kansas State has a better overall run package, the things that they do, the way they find gaps, 2 tight ends, quarterback run, things like that real patient quarterback power game when the quarterback catches it and kind of waits and lets it develop, running their running backs. I thought Texas dominated that, and it was at the line of scrimmage, and they couldn't do anything. So I'm looking for that D-line to dominate, and that's going to neutralize Ollie Gordon. You can run him 20 times, you can run him 40 times. If you can't block for him, it does not matter. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking for Texas to be a little more consistent in the passing game, downfield, intermediate to deep passing balls. They're good on play action, when they hurting people with the run, getting guys to suck up, quick screens, bubble screens, things like that. They've always been good at that. But I'm looking for Texas to really look a little more consistent, intermediate, and more long ball type. And I'm not just talking about just fade balls, deep posts, post corners, things like that. Where Ewers is a little more sharper in that, running backs, Baxter. I mean, golly, Blue looked so fast last week against Texas Tech. So they've got the stable there, man. If it has to be running back by committee, then so be it. That's in my opinion the keys to Texas winning. They got to dominate the line of scrimmage, which people may say, oh, that's obvious. No, they have what's arguably the best D line in the nation, and they have to show up. Exactly, they have to show up. And there's a challenge coming to town in Ollie Gordon, who is legit and is going to be a first round draft pick, as a running back, So I mean, we're not talking about just going in against a slouch, Oklahoma State has always found a way. Like you touched on earlier, 8 of the last 10, has gone to the guys of Stillwater. There's consistency wise, dance with what's the old Texas saying,
dance with what brought you.
Yeah, brought you there. Yeah, so what's coming. What's coming, and we're just gonna find, in my opinion, Oklahoma State just got to find better ways to outnumber, out leverage, and get some eyes in the backfield to take the defender eyes off the running back to just give them advantages of gaining up, leverage wise, getting angles, creating different types of angles in the run game. They're gonna have their play action pass game has to be on fire because they're always gonna play the run first. If you had to, and you can disagree with me, if you had to say what the weakness was for Texas defense, it had to be their secondary, in my opinion, particularly the safety position. So but those guys have done a great job flying around.
When Jalen Catalon is not healthy and not playing, I think you're absolutely absolutely right.
And I think that kid is still more of a help in the run game. He's a physical player. He runs and throws his body around, man. Early in the year, I watched him play, and I mean, golly, he's like a missile, So, but we, they got to find a way to get the ball down the field, but they got to find a way to protect him long enough to be able to get down the field, because that plays hand in hand. The dominant D line doesn't have to have a all world secondary, because hell, you're not going to have the 3.4 or 4.5 seconds to sit back there and go from this read to that read. So I think Texas will win, and I think it'll be a good game in the first half, and I just think Texas will start to wear down that offensive line, and y'all, you're gonna be coming back from Arlington happy, and it is what it is. I don't really care. I'm just waiting for Selection Sunday for my Jayhawks to see where they're going, But that's all I got on the game. What do you have on it?
Man, I'm really excited because there have been so many times as a Texas fan. I talked about this in one of the earlier shows that the season has been so much fun, right? Because we have come together as a
fun when you win
community. And third, we had to convince ourselves though early on, and it didn't really happen until after Tuscaloosa, where we said, okay, we've got a good team. We are not going to be beholden to the ghosts of the past. We're not going to let our PTSD bother us. We know that we have a good team, and we're going to enjoy this season for what it is. So it's been so much. I can't remember having this much fun in a season, not even back in 2008, 2007, because I think there was just so much pressure that there was the expectations that you had to go meet. But this year it wasn't sure in the beginning. So it was fun watching those things get firmed up. Now it's fun. It's almost like, and this is me imagining because I don't have kids, but I'm obviously very close with my nieces and nephews. The last time I felt this way was my nephew had been really good in karate competitions, right? And then he was headed to nationals. And I know that he's good enough to be there. And you were just excited to see if they're going to go and be who they can be, because the outcome that will produce. So
Yeah,
I'm
no doubt.
really just excited for this team to watch them go and dominate and realize who they can become. Again, a little bit of nerves, slight nerves because it's Mike Gundy. Normally this game typically has come after bye weeks and
Yeah.
really tough games. It's come
Hmm.
after Oklahoma. It's come after
Hmm.
really physical games. So this year, you know, they're coming off a physical game. They're coming off a
Yeah.
mentally tough game.
Yeah.
We're not. We coasted, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're
you're
right.
rested and but you're
You're
not
right.
looking past what you need to do. Sark has talked about his culture so much, and I think this is where you're going to see it prevail because they have been in that, as they call it, John Wick mode. And
Hmm.
this every game, every week is a Big 12 championship game. So this is just another game for them because they've been approaching every week
Yeah.
like a Big 12 championship game. So I'm just excited to see, can we adjust, because I know that we have to. I cannot believe that Mike Gundy would come into this game with a plan that Ollie Gordon rushing the ball won't work. It
Hmm.
would be malpractice to do that. So I'm excited to see what the secondary plan is and can Texas adjust. My hope is that Texas comes out, just takes off, and at that point, adjustments kind of don't matter. You look
Hmm.
up and you're down 24. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter anymore because now we'll play a clock game if we have to.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
that line, man,
Because
that
of what
Vegas
they
line
do,
keeps
that's
moving.
yeah. That
Yeah.
and because of what they do, it's gonna shorten the game naturally
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
because of Oklahoma State running the ball. So,
First
that
down run, but my key to the game, just like it was last week, just as it has been most weeks, is first down run defense.
mhm,
If we can keep them to the 2 yards or less that we have been all season,
mhm,
keeping opponents on a first down run. It doesn't allow them. It doesn't allow
yeah,
them to hog possessions. Doesn't allow
yeah,
them to do these things.
yeah.
Our third down defense, best in the country. For those that don't know, right? So if we can get them into some third and longs, third and mediums, I like our chances. So I'm excited. I really
Yeah.
am. We're gonna have a grand old time up in
And,
Arlington.
and, and be on the lookout for that, like you say. You went on first down as a defense. Look for pressure on second and third down from Texas.
Oh yeah.
That's just a little tidbit right there. You went on first down. You're gonna get pressured on second and
Oh,
third.
we're
So
now that has been clear, and the numbers are actually. You talk
yeah,
about coaches worry so much about being tendency breakers, right?
yeah,
I think Coach Kwiatkowski, the numbers are pretty clear that if you're in third and medium or third and long, you're getting 6, 7,
yeah,
8 guys
hmm,
coming at you on third down, and
yeah,
he has not
yeah.
wavered in that. So
Why
just
not?
excited to see how
Do
those
it. Do it
things
till you
hang
stop
up.
it. Do it till you stop it. Well, that
Riley,
I, who?
I was gonna say random tidbit just came across screen. Riley Leonard, quarterback from Duke in the
Sure
transfer
did.
portal.
Why? Why? Why?
Where you
Tell
think
me
where
why.
you think he's where do you think he's going? I think they know
Notre
Connor
Dame.
Wegman.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame
No,
is where he's
I
going.
think Connor is it, you think?
That's the rumor. That's the rumor. You
Hmm.
reminded me. I did see that. I think Notre Dame
Okay.
is in the lead. I think they're in the lead for it. So
They've got to
check
get
it.
away. I don't want Marcus Freeman to fall into that.
Yeah.
You can't be chasing a graduate quarterback every year because you're not building any consistency unless they're just
And
unless
that's what
they're
I'm
just
saying. But
dominant.
even as that leader, like, what does that say? Why? Why? Where are you gonna go? Are you going to go
Right.
to and okay, but if I'm on his team, they're probably saying, "Well, he lost his head coach, and now we don't know what." You're gonna have a new coach either way. You're leaving. I have a new coach either way. You never know. They may have promoted in house, and the offense is yours. You've let us go. So anyway, yeah. So moving on, man. Like I say, it's exciting time. This this championship conference championship weekends, man.
I
I
haven't
mean,
felt this in a long time. I have not
yeah,
felt what it is like to get into the final week of the college football season and
yeah,
be in the hunt. So I have
yeah.
no idea. We're gonna go to the Texas game, and
Uh-huh.
then we found out where the Dallas chapter of the Louisville Cardinal alumni are going to watch the game. So that's where we're
Oh
going to go watch.
gosh.
That's where
Oh
we're going to go
Lord.
watch the Louisville game Saturday night. So I think that
Nice.
gets into, what am I looking for this weekend? I'm going to
Yeah.
watch the Pac-12 championship game just to see if it's
That
close
they're
and
going to be on the grand stage because they're not the only one, but they're the only Power Five,
right.
conference
But
championship.
as a Texas fan, right,
Oh, of
indifferent to
course,
the
of course,
outcome,
of course.
I just don't need it to be close. I need whoever wins to win in kind of a grand fashion. I actually hope it's Washington just so that the
Of
committee
course you do.
realizes that they
Of
are
course you do.
ridiculous.
Of
But
course
even
you
if it's
do.
but I do feel like Oregon has matured as a team so much that if they're able to impose their will and they do win, I don't think it'll be close either way.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind, I don't want to see an Oregon blowout. I want Oregon to lose so that the committee can
Yeah.
just say we didn't
Just
know what the hell we were talking about.
just be honest. And also there's the Conference USA championship at 6 o'clock before that anyway on Friday. But I'll have my I
UTSA and who?
no new Conference USA is New Mexico State and Liberty.
UTSA plays in what conference now?
UTSA is in there, yeah. They're not an
Huh.
American. They're not an American.
I knew they had
Uh,
lost a
that
couple games. I just didn't
yeah,
think it had because
that makes us
they played
that
in
makes
that
us
game
look
the
bad.
last.
Yes, last have the whole the whole trailer
Yeah, yeah,
tenure.
yeah.
You know,
So we'll see.
um,
We'll see where their heads at. Obviously, we know
yeah,
what we're looking at. The Big 12 title game.
no doubt. And
The Macklin.
it is the American. It is the American. Like I said, I was right. And Tulane and
Okay.
SMU boy
Okay.
resurrected because Tulane had been running the table. But yeah, anyway. But go ahead. Yeah,
So there you go. Tulane looking to see if Tulane can keep it rolling so that they can
yeah.
get into a New Year's Six
The
bowl.
six.
They're saying it could be against us if we get left out of the college football playoff. I
Oof.
would go to that game because I can kind of
Yeah.
predict the outcome.
And
Um,
nobody predicted what they did to USC last year.
well, USC also was not a very good defense. And I think anytime you're playing a team and you don't have at 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 minimum an average defense,
Mm-hmm.
what I would worry about potentially is if it ended up being a non-college football playoff game is how many players do you rest? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're not going to rest any.
Yeah.
They're all going to
Yeah.
play. But
Yeah. No doubt.
you don't have your defensive line, you don't have all those other things, but that's why you got a bench full of 5 stars.
No doubt.
Um, I'll probably catch a little bit of the slack game as we're riding to.
Saturday. That's just gonna be pick your poison type day. I mean, because what are you
I
gonna
don't
watch?
see you left the SEC championship off the graphic. Uh
that's just the games
well
that's gonna
that's
play.
well
I
that's what
have
I'm watching for also
yeah.
because
Well, I'll tell
um
you right now. So Saturday, 11 a.m. Big 12 championship, 3 o'clock SEC championship, along with the American Athletic Conference championship being played at the same time. Then prime time is the Big Ten and the ACC championship being played at the same time at 7 on Saturday. So this
it's unlikely that they lose, but I tell you, I look for Iowa to make that game against Michigan dirty and
yeah,
nasty and
yeah,
rugged. And
I agree.
I think they hold Michigan to 24 points. The problem is
Look it.
I don't see how Iowa gets more than
His
10.
score points
That's the
exactly.
problem, right? That's the
Exactly.
problem. But who
Yeah.
knows? Bowl season wouldn't it be utter chaos, right? If you get a Michigan loss and a Georgia loss, right? That's
Jesus.
and a Florida State loss. And
Well,
obviously that SEC game. Speaking of nasty rumors, I heard that Rodemaker could be on the sideline for FSU because he was nearly concussed at the end of their game. So
mhm,
if they're down to QB3, look out.
yeah.
And that's all Texas needs, right? Texas only needs one team to lose. But if you can get to, I've worked out a couple of different scenarios. There's this real good playoff predictor tool
Oh.
that kind of gives you some fun scenarios to play with.
Mhm.
Uh, and it says Georgia losing is good for Texas. Um, I'm not as confident because I'm terrified now. We talked about this earlier, right? That we don't have the right people in the room and how they could
But
potentially overvalue an
there's some validity.
Alabama
There's some
team.
validity to that because Alabama beating Georgia, y'all beating Alabama. You know, I mean,
Right.
common
And that
sense will
makes
tell you,
that
yeah,
makes sense
yeah,
to common
yeah,
sense. But
yeah,
what they're
yeah.
showing us is common sense ain't so common, as Granny used to
Yeah,
say.
exactly. Common sense is not so common. You're right. Well, it's gonna be exciting. I don't know, man. We may need to do something different for this weekend. Go live, or I might have to clip into you live from Arlington at the Big 12 Championship. You know, we'll post it. You know, we'll do a live stream of seeing the atmosphere firsthand from your perspective. I'm low key jealous, but it is
Check the
what it
score
is.
before you call me. You know,
I know. I'm gonna catch you on the beginning. Everybody's happy in the beginning. I'm gonna catch it on the beginning. But no, man. But I enjoyed another good show, man. We hope y'all enjoyed the content. I mean, it keeps rolling. It's getting better, man, and it's getting more exciting. You know, we'll touch next week on bowl selection and how it goes. Selection Sunday is Sunday, December 3rd. So we won't touch on that till we know what's going on. There's some predictors out there, but nevertheless, that doesn't matter. So all as always, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your perspective and insight, man, and your knowledge, man. So as always, it's
always, man, looking forward to it.
oh yeah, well it's rock chalk till I die, baby.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
All right, man. We catch y'all next week. Take care.